Hello everyone, I'm Joel Baird, the General Manager of Missoula Community Access Television, inviting you to another edition of Missoula Live. Kim has the night off, or she forgot to come. So I'm really glad you joined us. This is November 20th, it's a really rainy Monday afternoon, and this show is live today, and then it's going to go on for another 2 weeks till December 3rd, and then we'll bring you a new show on Monday, December 4th. I have just a few things to share with you about MCAT. One of these things is MCAT is open to the public to use our facility. You can borrow cameras, you can use edit equipment, and you can use this marvelous studio. To do that, you can pop in to MCAT when we have our drop-in hours. That's Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you can see us on the web. Maybe Scott, you'll show them the website. And then Scott, I have a question for you. This Saturday, is there going to be animation? And he is nodding yes, people. So this is a long holiday, Thursday, Friday. By Saturday, maybe you want your kids to do something else. If you do, and they're between roughly the ages of 9 and 13, consider bringing them to MCAT's drop-in animation. It's Saturday, 1 to 5. There's a $4 fee, a $10 fee in those 4 hours. But if your kid goes to Lowell or Washington Middle School, they are free. And you don't have to register anything, but you do have to come to MCAT. It's on the northeast corner of Spruce and Higgins. Well, I'd like to introduce my first guest, who is a school resource officer for Missoula County Sheriff's Department, Rebecca Burkett. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
I'm really glad you do. And one of the first questions people might have is, what is a school resource officer? What do you do?
We do a lot of things. There are so many different hats that we have to wear in this position, and it can be anything from just making a kid feel safe at school, knowing that there's another trusted adult that they can have at the school to come to with their problems. A lot of it's education. We do a lot of presentations for kids, talks with the classes, anything ranging from drug and alcohol awareness to internet safety. In this day and age, we do a lot of stuff on the internet and online, so help teaching the kids warning signs and things they can look out for. And really, and we'll do a lot of civics classes too, and help kind of present to the kids things about our Constitution and the history and the laws, and how they can progress through life in a productive way. And it's a lot of it is mentorship. And then sometimes we do have to kind of put the cop hat back on, and when kids make a poor choice, we'll address it. It's our primary role there is not to get kids jammed up for breaking the law. It's more of an educational thing. But in the event that something does happen, then we'll hold them accountable, and it's just part of the big picture.
Right. And then do you act sort of then as a special conduit between school administration and the long arm of the law?
It is, and sometimes that can be a delicate balance, because as a designated school resource officer, we're viewed two different ways. We're viewed as a school official, but we're also viewed as a police officer. So, of course, law enforcement, we have one set of rules that we have to follow, but a school official has another set of rules, and it's finding a good blend between the two of those to have a good balance.
Yeah, and then in your position, I would suspect you could be aware of potential conflicts and then have a kind of leavening influence to make it turn out better, so that it wouldn't go to some sort of criminal mischief or what have you.
Absolutely. And a lot of times the schools aren't necessarily aware of some of the resources that they have available outside of what the school district can provide. And so it's nice that I can work as a liaison between the sheriff's office and the school, and a lot of the community outreach programs that are there to help parents that may be struggling with their kids or have issues going on. We're there just as another resource.
Yeah. And then your beat is pretty wide, you were saying before we started the show. You're all the way to Condon in one hand, all the way to Sealy in another, and then down to Lolo and out to Frenchtown.
So I have 12 schools. And just like you said, I go from Lolo to the south, Frenchtown to the west, Clinton to the east, and Condon to the north.
Wow.
It's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
It's a lot of driving back and forth, but it's in my opinion, it's the best job in the department, and I wouldn't be doing anything else right now. I absolutely love what I do.
Oh, that's great. And do you get a feel for the schools? Do you feel, for instance, there's like, I don't know, a difference between schools that are more rural, schools that are more urban?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference in the activity at the
Yeah.
schools, especially with the schools when you have, schools like Frenchtown that have such a higher population of kids compared to Potomac School, for
Yeah.
example, that, that has such a smaller number. There's obviously going to be a difference in activity levels. There's not one school that's better than the other or one school that's worse. It's just when you have more kids, you're obviously going to be spending more time at those schools, and not just because it's a reactive thing, but it's
Right.
more, my goal is to try to reach out to as many kids as I can, including their parents, not just the kids, because in my opinion, it takes a village to get our kids, into productive members of society, and sometimes we don't necessarily know the best thing to do. So I think the more people we can have on board, the more productive and better off our kids will be.
Yeah.
So that can be starting, I mean, I've got kindergartners up through, well, actually preschoolers at a couple of the schools, up to seniors in high school. So I think it's a great program.
Wow,
And
that's a wide range
yeah,
indeed.
yeah, it's been a long time since the Sheriff's Department has had this position.
Yeah.
And so luckily Sheriff McDermott, he listened to his community they've been asking for this position for so long. And Sheriff McDermott was gracious enough to say, you know what, I get it, there is a need.
Yeah.
And so my primary role is that I'm a detective, and they put the position out, and so we're working a man short in detectives so that I could fill this role. And so it's, again, it's another balance. It can be tricky, and I've got a lot of
Yeah.
schools to cover, but what we're really hoping is that by next year, we can bring another person on board, another deputy, and be able to get some funds to,
Oh,
and
great.
just kind of spread the responsibility a little bit. I think we could be more effective.
Yeah.
The more deputies that we can apply to this program, the better off our kids are going to be.
And one of the if somebody said, okay, what's the primary outcome that you would like? I mean, is it to keep people informed about constitutional law? Is it to have kids that may be in trouble get in less trouble? Is it a way of like bridging authority like the sheriff's office with kids that may not like authority and try to make friends in that sense?
Well, I can't say that one aspect is more important than the other, because again, it's really the big picture when we're dealing with
Yeah.
kids. I think a primary thing for me personally, is to establish those relationships with the kids, build that trust, let them see this uniform, and they still know, okay, well, that's Deputy Burkett. I can go talk to her about, I don't need to be scared of the uniform. I don't need to be scared of law enforcement. I don't need to believe everything that I see in the movies or everything that I hear, outside, that cops are bad, and I want to be able to teach these kids and show these kids, not just teach them, but show them, let them learn to trust me and know that I'm another person, that I'm here to help them, and that they can progress through. If they're having a problem, I can help maybe communicate in a different way. Hey, there's other solutions that we can come up with. Let's come up with a plan together to help you get through whatever you're struggling with. And,
Nice.
and just it builds from
So
there.
you would work also with school counselors on behavior issues and
Yep,
things like that?
absolutely. Yeah.
So the people that you get to know.
They are. I mean, these kids are kids that I see outside, even when I'm not in the school, I'll see these kids on my days off, see them around town, and they recognize me, and I'll recognize them. And I've got a lot of kids now, so I don't know all of their names yet, but so that's been kind of a fun thing. I'll joke with them, and I'll call them different names just to engage them and
Right.
see that personal side, and that it's a fun thing, and they don't have to be afraid. And it's good.
And if somebody watching the show that was a teacher, teacher's aide or something, they wanted you to make an appearance at the school, would they contact you through the sheriff's office and say, oh, wouldn't this be great if you could come to this social studies class or whatever?
They sure could, but primarily what they would just do, and I try to, when I'm in my schools, I'm walking through the classrooms. I'm introducing myself to the teachers,
Yeah.
and I'm reintroducing.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows that I'm there. I'm there. I'm handing my business cards out. It's got my cell phone number. The teachers,
Yeah.
they know how to get a hold of me, so they can either call me directly, or they can arrange it through their school officials, or they can call the sheriff's office. I try to be as reachable as possible for that, because I think that's a great, I'm there being proactive and getting to know these kids on a different level.
Yeah. What a wild territory, though, to take in all those
It's
schools,
a lot of driving.
all those
It's-
names,
Yeah.
and a lot of driving.
It's a lot, and it's new, and with every new position, we're going to have some, speed bumps, some hurdles that we have to get. It's definitely a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times, I kind of say it's like herding cats, trying to figure out that it's been a scheduling nightmare at times, and, we have to, it's just flexibility. We have to
Sure.
be flexible, and the relationships that I've built with the school officials have been great. I mean, the schools in Missoula County are amazing, and the school officials are amazing, and I have no doubt that I have their full support. I've got the support of the sheriff's office, which is great. I've got a boss that believes in this program, and so it's just, it's up from here.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Well, Rebecca, is there anything you want to add?
Not really. I guess just, I mean, if people do have questions, I'm available. You can reach me at the sheriff's office. You can email me. You can call me. If you're a parent with a child at the school, reach out to your school's teacher, and they can get a hold of me if the parents have questions or have, anything that they think that I can be a resource to them. It's not just a law enforcement role. It's the bigger picture. It's helping these kids grow.
Right. Like building a relationship, not a confrontation.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
You know it. And we'll be right back. We've got a little bit more from Missoula City Police Department. Ethan Smith is here. He's the crime prevention officer for the city of Missoula, and he's going to come out and talk about some of the programs the city of Missoula has in place to make your home and your business, your commute more safe. So we'll be right back after this.
Hey, how's it going over? Oh, have a good day. Oh, huh, I didn't see you over there. What a nice day to be out and about today. But I want to tell you something about what's going on here. Hold on a second, let me just adjust this. Okay, there you go. Let me talk about MCAT. MCAT is doing Saturday drop-ins starting every Saturday this fall, winter, and spring season from 1 to 5 p.m. Let's go check it out. Come on. MCAT is a great way to create. All you got to do is come on down to our location at 500 North Higgins. It's as easy as that. See you there.
Yeah, we can just have a chat. That's it. Unless you want to turn,
In an
but I don't know
emergency,
to
every
the
second
camera.
counts, and when
You could
panic,
turn,
you
and
can make
say,
mistakes. That's why you should create a free Smart 911 safety profile. Creating your family's secure profile gives 911 access to life-saving information even if you can't talk. And if you don't have a landline, creating a family safety profile will allow you to receive timely and actionable emergency alerts. Plan ahead and protect your family by signing up at smart911.com today.
Oh, and we're back. We're back with Officer Ethan Smith from the City of Missoula Police Department. Ethan, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
Yeah,
Glad
you
to be
know
here.
it. Well, I had read about some of the functions of your office in the Missoula Downtown Association newsletter, and it said, okay, the City of Missoula has hired a crime prevention officer who would be available to look at your home or your business and look at some real improvements you could make to upgrade the safety of that structure, whether it was a business or a household.
Absolutely, Joel. So we've actually had the crime prevention officer position for a while, but it hasn't been filled until just recently with some turnover. So I'm new to the position as of several months ago, and I'm
Right.
really glad that you reached out to me so I can
Sure.
talk about more about what we can do to serve the city of Missoula. One of the things that I do is come and conduct site assessments for businesses and homes. We use something called crime prevention through environmental design. And I take a look at how the building is designed and the nearby landscaping, lighting, public and private access, security cameras, things like that. The whole idea behind SEPTED is to decrease criminal activity and make people feel safer in the environment that they work or live in. And typically people think of that site assessment as being done on businesses,
Yeah.
but I'm more than happy to come to a private home and do the same assessment. So the idea really is that there are officers out there who are responding call to call, mainly 911 calls.
Right.
But what can the Missoula Police Department do long term to serve the needs of the community? And with that in mind, I do a lot of public outreach. And so it's very fulfilling, but I'm able to spend more time on long-term solutions than other officers are who are having to respond to day-to-day 911 calls.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of satisfying though for the department. You know, where you say, boy, we're just coming up against a lot of tragedies of people that feel like they've lost things, their home and sense of security has been violated. You know, like, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could go educating people not to make the same mistakes?
Absolutely, Joel. And oftentimes they didn't even make a mistake,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's preventable. And so when we have a situation where an officer responds to a burglary, whether it's a business or somebody's home, there's a tremendous sense of violation there. I mean, some stranger came into your place and took your items.
Yeah.
So that officer is still going to take that report and document all the evidence, and we're going to begin a criminal investigation to try to find out who did that. But I can come in afterwards on the back end and spend more time with the homeowner or the business owner and talk to them about ways that they can actually protect their business or home and try to prevent these things from happening. Sometimes it's taking a big picture look at different criminal trends that we have around the city. For example, the city has had a huge problem with bike thefts over the past couple months. That's a common problem in a city like Missoula where a lot of people rely on their bicycles. But it really has reared its ugly head for the past couple of months too. So what can I do to help those long-term problems that we're facing? So the residential or the commercial site assessment is free. There's no cost to anyone for that.
Great.
The city of Missoula residents already pay my salary. What can we do to better serve them? And so if people want to call me and have me come and do a site assessment, they can reach me directly at 552-6335. And I would be happy to come out and do that. And that includes homeowners. It's important to know, Joel, that I don't need to go into anyone's house to do that. I can simply walk around the house. There's no need to bother
Right.
anyone or
No
violate
tidying
their privacy.
up or whatever
Exactly.
to get-
How many people, even if you're law-abiding, want a police officer
Oh,
walking
I
through
guess
your
they
house?
get
So
nervous. Or
We just
in
wanna
the
be-
case of older people living alone, you know, they might be kind of scared to think, oh, well, they're not going to like it, or I haven't cleaned this room in
Exactly.
a long time.
We all feel that way when we have guests show up
Right.
anyway. We want to be respectful of people's privacy, and so to that end, I don't even need to go into the house. But one of the other things that I do, Joel, is I coordinate all the neighborhood watch programs throughout the city. The city, as you probably know, has 20 different neighborhoods, and theoretically there should be a neighborhood watch program in each one of those neighborhoods. I am in the process of trying to figure out which ones already exist and also revitalizing the ones that exist and starting new ones from scratch. And so anyone who wants to reach out to me, if they have any interest in being involved in Neighborhood Watch, should contact me directly. There's no commitment on their part. It's not intended to take up a lot of their time, but I will provide them with some basic training on ways that they can better watch out for their neighbors. That's the whole idea. And so, again, we want to be respectful of each other's privacy. But the fact of the matter is there's a number of crimes that happen every day in Missoula, and having some folks who would like to step up and be a part of a solution to their neighborhood and watch out for their neighbors is a wonderful asset for the police department to have. One of the other benefits of the Neighborhood Watch program is that I can communicate with them about trends and problems that are taking place in their neighborhood, and I now have a list of residents that I can communicate with. Likewise, they can share any problems that they have that aren't emergencies with me. We still want people to call 911 for any emergency.
Sure.
But a common concern that we get, Joel, is people who come to us and say, you know, I have this problem in my neighborhood, but I don't want to tie up 911 lines because it's not really an emergency. We can certainly help with that. We should be there to address concerns that citizens have that affect their quality of life. So I want to do what I can to help that too.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because it's true that we would see in the press over this summer about the bike thefts, that it seemed like they were really piling up. And it might have been just a few operatives that were contributing to what seemed like a citywide epidemic. And then similarly, sometimes you hear like there's a lot of car break-ins, you know, or windows smashed, or smash and grab, all in the same area, so that people know they might take some precautions, like
You know, Joel, to be
off-street parking for a while till it settles or something.
absolutely. And that's where I can use those neighborhood watch folks to communicate with them. So we call those people door checkers. There's groups of people in every city. They don't even break into cars. They just walk down your street at 3 o'clock in the morning to test the handle
right.
on your door. If it's locked, they keep walking. You would be amazed at how many people leave their car unlocked every single day, and they leave firearms in there, they leave laptops in there, they leave camera equipment, they leave their purse, they even leave their car keys. A majority of the stolen vehicles in Missoula are actually from people who left their car keys in there. So if I can communicate that to people and let them know, just simple solutions go a long way for
That seems
preventing theft.
extraordinarily simple. But you know, there's some people that used to take pride when this town was half its size. You know, the dogs would be sleeping on
Right.
Higgins Street, and everyone
Right.
had their doors unlocked and so on. But the town has changed. It's just inevitable that along with the growth, you know, comes a certain amount of this kind of property crime.
It's true, and North Reserve used to be pasture
Yeah,
land.
well,
and
single-
we hear that all the time from longtime residents. Gosh,
Yeah.
I used to be able to just leave my keys in my car, run into the grocery,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So unfortunately, times change. The city has been growing, but there are ways to prevent crime on the everyday level, and I want to do what I can to improve the quality of life of people who live here. And it's nice that the police department, we're large enough that we can have one officer do this. You know, a lot of smaller agencies just don't have the manpower to take someone off the street and have them look at long-term solutions. One of the other things that I do, Joel, is try to provide training to different businesses on problems that they might be having with disruptive customers. Employee theft in the
sure.
workplace is very common here. I provide training to employers. I provide training to banks and credit unions on reducing financial crimes that we typically see here in the city. So again, the day-to-day officer who's responding to these crimes doesn't necessarily have 3 or 4 hours to spend training a group of employees.
Yeah.
But I can do that, and I certainly want to hear from businesses who might be having law enforcement related concerns that we can help them with. Again, there's no cost to the businesses. My salary is already paid by the city. What can we do to help you?
Wow, that's wonderful offer. Because when we talked a little before, I didn't think of that. Particularly downtown, businesses often seem to have those issues where they're worried about people that are blocking their door, or, you know, appearing to make their business like less visitable.
Sure.
If that's a word. But at the same time, and I know City Council has heard a lot of these measures, and they've been concerned about the constitutional rights of the people, that whether they're asking for change or simply leading a life on the street or something.
Right.
Where's that fine line, you know, between the business owner's right to what appears to be a safe and friendly environment, and the individual's right to ask for alms or to simply use the street in an unorthodox fashion?
Well, really, Joel, that line comes when you're interfering with a customer's ability to go into a store, or you're following people to their car to harass them for money, or you're intimidating them, or you're misleading them. A common way is for someone to hold up a sign that says they're stranded, even though they live here in town.
You're right.
They're trying to rely on the goodness of strangers. So the courts have ruled that it's freedom of speech to ask for money, and the Missoula Police Department certainly has no problem with that. We believe that all residents should be treated with respect, but likewise, we want to do what we can to make the downtown area friendly to families to come and shop. And so when we have an individual that's interfering with that by harassing people and using profanity or trying to intimidate them into giving them money and being rude, following to their car or following them or accosting them at the ATM machine is also a city ordinance violation. So you can certainly ask for money in a peaceful and polite manner, and people are free to ignore you or to give money if they would like to help. but we want to educate the business owners as best we can on the ways that we're willing to intervene to make sure that families can come and shop downtown without fear to their safety. Because
Right.
we want downtown to be an inviting business environment, and it's not fair to the business owners here, some of whom pay tens of thousands of dollars a month in rent, to have to deal with the headaches caused by a few people. So
Yeah.
I'm there to help in those situations too.
That's really good to know. That's probably why you appeared in the Missoula Downtown Association newsletter like that, where let's say, if you're a downtown business person and you want, help in all these areas, is the business safe? Do you have some practices or architecture or landscape that may encourage some kind of crime? Or do you have problems being downtown and feeling like your business is friendly and inviting and doesn't have a lot of people asking for money or blocking the way? How do you deal with that diplomatically, constitutionally? And you can help with that.
Absolutely. We also want to make sure that employees feel safe too. That's a constant concern that employees have downtown, and not just in the downtown area, but throughout the city.
Yeah.
We have a number of businesses that unfortunately have to deal with an unruly customer now and again. Sometimes someone's just frustrated, but sometimes that behavior escalates in a very concerning manner. And a lot of employees would like to know, when is that time to call 911, especially with the recent violence that we continue to see around the country. More and more businesses become more and more concerned about their employees' safety, and we want to do what we can to address that as well. So I do any public outreach to employers that have any concerns, including having me come in and do a training for those employees. Officer Mark Putty is also another police officer that works for the Missoula Police Department, who does workplace safety training, and it's a very dynamic training that he conducts that employers can send employees to. So again, we're trying to do what we can to address community needs.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate to work for a police department that likes to try to do a lot of public outreach to address those concerns. Because after all, it's not just responding to each 911 call. There should be more to it than that.
That's right. I mean, there's an element here that kind of runs a theme with Rebecca Burkett's work, and that is education, building a relationship, and using one's smarts to figure out how to reduce crime before it happens.
Absolutely. And I want to do anything that I can to help local businesses, but individual renters and homeowners feel safe in their homes as well. So if people would like to call me, Joel, about having an on-site
Yeah, that
assessment,
sounds interesting.
either at their home or their business, my number again is 552-6335. And if they have any concerns in their neighborhood, I want to do what I can to help as well. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I would
Yeah.
like to give a plug for the Neighborhood Watch program.
Yeah,
Again,
please do. And then some of that would also be coordinated by Neighborhood Council, Jane Kelly in the Office of
Yes,
Neighborhoods.
Jane and the Office of Neighborhoods, working with Karen, they've been wonderful and of huge help to me because they're more knowledgeable about those individual neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So I actually have been to about 10 or 12 neighborhood meetings of each of the 20 neighborhoods. I'm trying to make my way through all of them,
Yeah.
and I'm building relationships with those neighborhood leadership teams. So each of the 20 neighborhoods has its own leadership team. It's kind of like a smaller version of city council for that
Right.
specific neighborhood. And so that is very helpful to me to build relationships with those people to make sure that the Missoula Police Department is being responsive to concerns in their neighborhood that might not be an emergency where they don't feel comfortable calling
Right.
911, but it's a headache that's developing in their neighborhood that affects their safety or quality of life. And I certainly would like to do what I can for each of those neighborhoods. Karen and Jane and the Office of Neighborhoods have been a wonderful help to me because I'm still meeting all those people.
Yeah.
And they have existing relationships with them. So
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, and before you go, there was an event, Coffee with a Cop, is
Yes.
it? That I don't know whether, I assume Scott's put it on the screen, but
Coffee with a Cop,
Yeah.
if you're able to make it, it's November 30th, which is a Thursday morning from 8:30 until 10 a.m. That's at the Dog and Bicycle Cafe. It's a coffee shop at 875 Wyoming Street. wonderful coffee shop. They have agreed to host that. That's in those beautiful new condos at the old Sawmill District, right across from Osprey Field.
Oh, now I know where it is.
Yeah, right across from the entrance to the Osprey Field.
Yeah.
A wonderful coffee shop. We will be there Thursday, November 30th at 8:30 in the morning. It'll be me. It'll be other higher-ranking supervisors. The chief of police makes it a priority to attend. We want to be responsive to any concerns that people have in the community, and this is a wonderful opportunity to come literally tell us what we can do better to serve you and whatever concerns you might have in your neighborhood. That's the whole purpose of that meeting. Sometimes, again, people don't want to call 911 for minor things, but they would like to share ways or ideas that can improve their neighborhood, and we are there. We should be responsive to those concerns. 8:30 in the morning, November 30th on Thursday, 875 Wyoming Street, across from the entrance to Osprey Field, Dog and Bicycle Coffee Shop.
There you go. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely, Joel. Thanks so much for having me.
You know that. You're welcome back, too. All right, you guys, we've still got a slate of guests. I can see Isaac in the background. So bear with us. One more public service announcement volley at you, and we'll be back with the last guests of Missoula Live right after this.
Sergeant Greg Amison with the Missoula Police Department. I'd like to talk a little bit about bicycles riding on the sidewalks in the city of Missoula, which we see a lot because Missoula is a very bike-friendly town. I would just like to let bicyclists know that they do have to yield to pedestrians on the sidewalk safely because they travel faster than a pedestrian, so they do have to do that in a safe manner. And then when you get to a crosswalk, you are actually required to slow your bicycle down to what would be called a pedestrian pace, and you cannot begin crossing until it's safe to do so.
Birthdays come and go, each year adding up to a lifetime full of extraordinary moments. At Missoula Aging Services, we promote the independence, dignity, and health of older adults. We are ready to help connect seniors to the help they need. Knowing you've got friends to support you, each birthday can be special. See how we can help. Call 728-7682 or log on to MissoulaAgingServices.org.
For too long, corporate tobacco has exploited our people, manipulated our practices, and profited from our addiction. No more. If you struggle with commercial tobacco addiction, call the American Indian Commercial Tobacco Quit Line today at 1-855-372-0037 and talk to someone who understands.
At Missoula Aging Services, you'll always be greeted with a warm welcome. Whether you are caring for an aging loved one or you're an older adult yourself, our friendly staff is ready to connect you to the help you need. You will always get unbiased advice, a free assessment of your needs, and personalized information about the resources available. See what we can do for you. Call 728-7682 or log on to MissoulaAgingServices.org.
Hey, Kathy?
Yes?
When I texted you to Netflix and chill, I didn't mean chill.
Yes.
I meant I wanted to
Yes.
I mean, really, just and start.
Maybe not that, but how about
Good idea.
Oh, we're back. I don't know if he cut that short. If he didn't, I apologize only a little, because it seemed like maybe it was explicit, had the disclaimer, maybe it was too explicit for this time period, but if anything, Carney events are definitely showing that this kind of education is extraordinarily vital. So my next guests are part of a consortium of people working on issues of violence and in relationships. There's Isaac La'a and Brennan Merrill. They're each from different areas. Isaac is the outreach coordinator for the SARC, the Student Advisory Resource Center at University of Montana. And Brennan, you're a prevention specialist, and I would assume the prevention you're doing is in relationship violence.
Yep.
With Missoula County. And so your another organization is Relationship Violence Services?
Yeah, so Make Your Move is a coalition of different organizations. Both SARC over at UM and Relationship Violence Services are two of those organizations. Make Your Move is also comprised of the YWCA Missoula and the Forum for Children and Youth over at the City County Health Department.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about this campaign, Make Your Move Missoula.
Yeah, so Make Your Move was started in 2014 after the DOJ came and started investigating at UM. There were a group of victim-centered agencies who said, you know, I would really like there to be a community response and community prevention to sexual violence in our community. And so a few years ago, we came out with a campaign, a bystander intervention campaign that you may have seen, where it has someone who's like, hey, she was so drunk. And so I stepped in to make sure she got home okay.
Right. Where the outcome fooled you on that
Yes.
PSA, right? Where you
Yes.
thought, oh, she was so drunk, I think I'll take advantage of her. So I stepped in and made sure she got home okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that actually got worldwide accolades. So we have folks in Spain and in Denmark who have picked up that campaign and used it in their own communities as well. And so we then decided to do a similar campaign, but this time focusing on consent.
Right, and that's the new one.
Correct.
And that was the sort of explicit PSA we treated everyone to. Sorry, but doesn't it seem super timely? Because now on the Facebook there was that period, and it seems to have tapered off, the Me Too period, where people were writing that they had been made uncomfortable or people had made advances on them, unwanted, violent, embarrassing, humiliating, etc., etc. And an enormous number of people threw their name into that ring. And then other people are saying, well, this is great, but it's also like traumatizing people that have been through experiences as well. And then all of these revelations, I mean, beyond the presidency, and that settled down for a year or so, but then all of these other figures, and accusations and so on. So did that inspire the mutual consent, or is it more of a natural process of development?
Yeah, so we began this process about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So it was well before these specific narratives of sexual violence came out into the public. However, working with community agencies and knowing what goes on in our community and over at the university, we know that consent is an important issue, and it's one that's not talked about enough.
Right. I think I want to let you have a chance to talk of this
She's
too.
doing fabulous.
What's going on at the university level for this kind of education?
You know, it's bystand. That's part of the being an outreach coordinator for SARC. Is training every new student that comes into the university, whether it's a transfer student, freshman, law student, grad student, any type of new student. They have to go through a mandatory 45 minutes to an hour bystander intervention training. and it's the only mandatory in-person training required for the university.
Interesting.
Yes, and we've done close to about 2,800 students thus far, with a few hundred more to go before spring semester. So
Yeah. So that's really strong commitment on the university's
Yes.
part to take a lead in this education issue. What do you think some of the goals are? I mean, it's overall obviously to reduce such incidences, right, where people feel like they're in a sexual situation that they have never asked for to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Right, and of course we overall, right, want the rates of sexual violence, sexual assault, and rape to be reduced. However, this campaign, though that is the long-term goal, this campaign is really working to energize people and to make them feel confident in asking for consent. You're in a sexual situation with somebody you like, and we want you to be able to have the language to say, hey, I want to do this particular thing. Are you okay with that? Hey, can I kiss you? And being able to negotiate that boundary. So this campaign is really trying to be positive in the way we're talking about consent.
Yeah, and the PSA seemed so, right? It wasn't like this heavy downer thing at all. No. And so this is try to point people to a way towards communication, not like you better look out or you better get like signed in triplicate because look what can happen to you if someone comes as an accuser or something. Mm-hmm. But more like saying, well, maybe there's an art to this that people have lost entirely. Let's see if we can instill some of that.
Exactly, and maybe Isaac can speak to this too, but people don't respond to negative messagings like don't rape or like make sure you never get in trouble. Like it's hey, like we all want to have good sex, right? And so it's let's relearn, as you said, relearn that art of having that conversation and having healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Well, and sex should be fun.
Right.
It's
not like a contest or not a domination where there's a perpetrator and a victim.
Correct.
Being
Correct.
that. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, if you see things like end rape culture, or sometimes you'll see a pushback right from the male sector. We're saying, "Oh, we feel really vulnerable. We feel like we're all being painted as some kind of perpetrators or something like that." So they don't want to hear that message.
Right.
They feel like the message. If they accept the message, that means they accept their guilt.
Right, and it's hard, right? And so I think that's why this is so focused on positive, healthy behavior rather than blaming or shaming anyone for their behavior.
Right. And the bystander education, MCAT had made a little, and I think we'll show a little bit of it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we have time to do so after we talk. Bystander education video that we had made for the Make Your Move, which is kind of like last summer's news, but some of it was to help people in the most likely scenarios, like it was for people tending bar or people in nightclub venues, things like this, where they might be able to recognize that someone is uncomfortable, someone is inebriated and being hit on, these kinds of things.
Yeah, so that's our bar workshop curriculum.
Yeah.
So the bar workshop and the consent campaign both came out of a grant funder this past year. And we used that bar workshop throughout bars, taverns, clubs in Missoula to try and make bar staff feel a lot more confident in intervening. And it's a lot of similar strategies that we use over at the university as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that campaign is successful. It was interesting to see how many people were willing to be on board and to participate and so on. I mean, it asks a lot of servers, right? They're not being paid very much. They have no degrees, or maybe they're trying to get a degree, or maybe they have a law degree, who knows. But, when a bar is crowded and there's so many orders, they're now entrusted with looking out on the welfare of people in the room. So, I think it was great that people said, yeah, I'll try. And then you're attempting to broaden that sense of responsibility to the community, where everyone could take a place in looking out for each other.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. Well, if people wanted to learn more about it, what would you recommend for them? To, if they said, well, this sounds really good, I want to help, or I want to be part of it in some capacity.
Yeah, so there are quite a few ways. We are on social media, so you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, where we update that pretty regularly, and we also can get contacted through there. We also have a website, makeyourmovemissoula.org, and that will give you information about our original bystander campaign, our bar work, and our new consent campaign.
Excellent. Well, is there anything you want to add before we shuffle off to the end of the show?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's great that we have community members who are ready and eager to engage in this conversation, because that's the only way we'll make change.
Yeah. Well, thank you both, Brenna and Isaac, for being on the show.
Thank you.
And thank you, dear viewer, for watching this edition of Missoula Live. MCAT really did participate in the training on Make Your Move, and I think Scott's got it queued up. His thumb is up. So you could watch that, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks' time, probably with a show that's kind of centered around the upcoming holiday season. So for MCAT, I'm Joel Baird. Thanks for watching.
Sexual assault is a significant issue in Missoula, but not just Missoula. It's a significant issue in most communities.
It was a terrible, eye-opening thing to realize that stuff does happen in our quaint little town.
I'm a city council member.
I'm city council.
Co-owner at the Rhinoceros.
Attended bar here for 11 years.
Missoula County DUI Task Force Coordinator.
Missoula County and the City of Missoula.
Relationship Violence Services.
The Student Advocacy Resource Center.
At the University of Montana.
Missoula College.
Missoula Police Department.
The YWCA.
Missoula Forum for Children and Youth.
I work at the City of Missoula and I'm its mayor.
1 in 3 women experience sexual violence in their lifetime, and nearly 1 in 9 men. So it's not just a women's issue.
Assaults happen to anyone, ranging from babies all the way up to our elders.
In our research, when students report instances of sexual assault, sexual violence, we see a lot of co-occurrence of alcohol or other substances being involved.
Over the years, we've seen a number of victims come out of the bar scene, and they'll say that they were out with friends having a great time, and then they don't remember what happened, or they met somebody and that person started harassing them and followed them after the night at the bar. After enough of these stories, you start to think, what's going on?
In our culture, we take the attitude that sexual violence is just inevitable, that it's going to happen, and all we can do is warn women to keep themselves safe from it. Things like, watch your drink, someone might drug it, or don't walk alone at night. When someone's assaulted, instead of asking, why was she drinking so much? What did she expect to happen? By going home with this person, asking, why did this person choose to assault them? Why did this person not stop when they said no? If they weren't sure whether someone was consenting, why did they keep going? Why didn't they just ask and clarify whether they were consenting? And those aren't the questions that we're asking. But when we start asking those questions, it's a lot more likely that we'll fix the issue, because we're attacking the issue that actually causes rape, which is people are choosing to commit rape.
Sexual violence is absolutely preventable. We've seen in other areas of public health where we've made real inroads. So drinking and driving, smoking, seatbelt use, helmet use. We see behavior change and we see culture change, and sexual violence is no different.
Bystander intervention is effective because what we're trying to do here is create a community of support.
When we have a community of people who stand up and say, this behavior is not acceptable, and then step in to intervene, we do a much better job of preventing it from happening again.
2/3 of sexual assaults involve bystanders leading up to the assault. We can prevent sexual violence by training bystanders on how to recognize the signs of sexual violence, those red flags that something problematic is happening.
When people are put in vulnerable situations, they might think that nobody will notice or care. So a bystander has the power to make them feel not alone and to foster a community where people care about others' well-being.
Oftentimes when we think about intervention, we think that it needs to be a major response, when in reality, checking in on the situation, providing distraction, and allowing the person to be able to get to safety is the only thing that's needed.
Bars are really the perfect audience for sexual violence prevention training because bartenders are seeing a lot of problematic behavior in their bars when people are really drunk. And there are a lot of people that are wanting to take advantage of how intoxicated people are in bars. So bartenders have a lot of power in intervening.
There's a lot of responsible bar owners and bartenders out there that want to do everything that they can to reduce any kind of violence or headaches in the community.
They're on the front line. They need more education.
This only is effective with our community. If we have 3 people who are against rape, that really doesn't get the job done. We need 300,000, 3 million, 300 million people against rape.
I've got a 5-year-old little girl, and it would be irresponsible to not fund work like this. At some point, she's going to be 18 and 21, and she'll be an adult, and she's going to be in the environment that we're talking about here, and we need to invest in making that an environment of respect.
Preventing overservice helps prevent a lot of things, not just driving under the influence, but sexual assault.
And anything that we can do to help those bartenders and educate them about reducing those violent incidences benefits the city as a whole.
The more that we can have bystanders and people thinking about how substances and sexual assault often can be in correlation with each other. So I just think it's really exciting to be able to combine 2 topics and help keep our community safer.
Empower people to step in and step up and get involved if they see somebody that needs some help.
Make your move. Make your move.
Make your move.
Make your move.
To end sexual violence.
Make your move to end sexual violence.
We made our move. What will you do?